In a world dominated by powerful nations and their armies, no one expected the boldest challenge to come from one of the smallest countries in West Africa. But on this day, history was rewritten. News broke across international media. Burkina Faso launches drone strike under the command of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Western capitals were stunned. Military analysts scrambled to understand how a landlocked nation, long dismissed as weak and dependent, had suddenly joined the ranks of drone-wielding powers. But for the people of Burkina Faso and much of Africa, this was not just about military technology. It was about pride. It was about sovereignty. It was about sending a message that Africa would no longer kneel before outside powers. Today, we uncover the meaning, the symbolism, and the global consequences of Traoré's drone strike. And we ask, what message is he sending to the West? To understand the gravity of this moment, we must first understand the man behind it. Born in 1998, Ibrahim Traoré is the youngest head of state in the world today, a soldier who rose through the ranks, a leader who took power during one of Burkina Faso's darkest times, and a man who has consistently spoken against neocolonialism. In October 2022, Traoré led a military takeover that shocked the international community. While the West called it another coup, the people of Burkina Faso saw it differently. They saw a leader willing to challenge the status quo. They saw someone who spoke openly against French military presence, Western exploitation, and the constant meddling in African affairs. His fiery speeches captured global attention. He declared, "We will not be free if we depend on those who exploit us. We will not be independent if foreign soldiers protect our lands while taking our resources. We must stand for ourselves." These were not empty words. And the DRO proved it. Details remain scarce, but what is clear is this: Burkina Faso carried out a successful drone strike. For many outsiders, the immediate question was, how? Burkina Faso, after all, has limited resources, a struggling economy, and was until recently plagued by insurgencies. But under Traoré's leadership, alliances shifted. Partnerships with Russia, Turkey, and other nations brought in new technology and military support. Training programs were launched, and quietly, Burkina Faso built a capacity that no one thought possible. When that drone strike happened, it wasn't just a tactical move. It was a declaration. We too can defend ourselves. We too can strike back. We too are a force to be reckoned with. In modern warfare, drones are the ultimate symbol of technological power. The United States uses drones across the Middle East. Russia deploys drones in Ukraine. Turkey has risen as a drone superpower, with its Bayraktar drones sold across the globe. Until recently, Africa was seen as a consumer, not a creator of such technology. But Traoré has now changed that perception. By using drones effectively, Burkina Faso is no longer just defending its territory. It is proving to the entire world that Africa can harness modern technology without being dependent on the West. The drone strike carries three powerful layers of symbolism. For Burkina Faso, it is a moment of pride. A statement that the nation, often dismissed as powerless, can stand tall on the global stage. For Africa, it represents a shift. A generation of African leaders, young, bold, and unafraid, are refusing to be dictated to by former colonial powers. For the West, it is a warning. Africa is no longer under the thumb of Western military and political dominance. This is not just about a strike on the ground. This is about shattering the psychological dominance the West has held over Africa for decades. In Washington, Paris, and Brussels, the strike has been met with alarm. Western officials label it reckless. Analysts describe it as dangerous. But behind the harsh words lies a deeper fear. Fear that the Western military monopoly in Africa is crumbling. Fear that African nations may begin turning east, towards Russia, China, Turkey, for alliances and weapons. Fear that the old order of global dominance is slowly fading. The media response highlights this. Major outlets questioned. Who supplied the drones? Is Russia behind this? Does this mark a new anti-Western axis in Africa? But while Western governments panic, many Africans cheer. On social media, #Traore trends across the continent. Videos praising him go viral on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. For millions, the drone strike is not seen as aggression. It is seen as freedom. The impact of Traore's actions goes far beyond Burkina Faso. Across Africa, people are rising in solidarity. In Mali, citizens chant his name in the streets. In Niger, protesters wave both Burkinabe and Russian flags, praising a new era of independence. In Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, young people are posting online, asking, "Why don't we have leaders like Traore?" Movements like Awaken Africa and platforms like Africa Stories amplify this message. 1. Africa must take control of its resources. Africa must build its own military strength. Africa must stop begging the West. The drone strike becomes not just a military action, but a symbol of African unity. This movement also ties into a larger issue: climate change. Burkina Faso, like many African nations, has long been one of the hardest-hit countries by desertification, droughts, and environmental crises. Yet, despite contributing the least to global emissions, Africa pays the highest price. And who controls the climate conferences? The same Western nations that profit from African resources. Traore has repeatedly said, "If we cannot defend our land, how can we fight for our environment? If we cannot control our future, how can we survive the climate crisis?" The drone strike, therefore, is more than military. It is tied to the broader fight for African survival in a changing world. History remembers African leaders who dared to defy the West. Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, Patrice Lumumba of Congo, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Each of them rose with bold visions. Each of them challenged Western dominance, and each of them paid a heavy price. Now, Traore carries their torch. But will he meet the same fate? Or will this new era of global multipolarity protect him where past heroes fell? This question hangs heavy in the air. So what is the real message behind this drone strike? Africa will no longer be your playground. For centuries, Western powers treated Africa as a source of raw materials and cheap labor. Traore's strike says, no more. We can defend ourselves. By showing military capability, Burkina Faso demonstrates that African nations are not helpless. The future is multipolar. No single bloc, neither the West nor the East, will dominate. Instead, Africa will choose its own path. This is the heart of Traore's message: dignity, independence, and power. But bold actions come with risks. The West may retaliate economically, through sanctions, restrictions, or cutting aid. Propaganda may increase, painting Traore as a dictator or threat to democracy. Even internal instability could rise as enemies, foreign and domestic, seek to weaken him. The drone strike is powerful, but it also places a target on Traore's back. Still, beyond the politics, beyond the risks, there is something greater: the spirit of a continent that has waited too long to rise. From Dakar to Kinshasa, from Accra to Addis Ababa, Africans are watching Traore and whispering one thought: maybe this is our time. A time when Africa stops being the victim of global politics. A time when Africa no longer begs for aid, but stands tall as an equal. A time when Africa's leaders are not chosen by foreign embassies, but by their people. This spirit is what makes the drone strike historic. What comes next? Will Burkina Faso inspire a wave of similar actions across Africa? Will the West try to suppress Traore the way it suppressed Sankara? Or will this moment mark the beginning of a new era, where Africa writes its own destiny? No one can say for certain, but one thing is clear: the world will never look at Burkina Faso the same way again. Traore's drone strike was not just a military event. It was a statement, a challenge, a declaration that the world must now take Africa seriously. As the smoke clears, one question echoes louder than ever. What message is Traore sending to the West? Perhaps it is this: we are not your colonies anymore. We are not your pawns. We are Africa, and we will rise. For the people of Burkina Faso, for Africa, and for the entire world, this moment will be remembered not as just another headline, but as the day a young leader dared to defy an empire.